Hey everyone, I am Ben Bredigan here with onX Hunt. Looking forward to having you all here in the webinar today, the masterclass. I've got a great guest with me, Matt Davis from Final Rise, and we are going to have a great time chatting about what's in our vest. And I'm personally excited because just to compare and contrast who has what different regions. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Um, really looking forward to seeing everyone today. Some quick housekeeping items before we start here. So reminder that your videos are all off. You're muted, so we can't hear you. If you want to interact, if you've got any questions, please use the Q&A function down at the bottom. And if you just want to talk amongst yourselves and connect with other people, there's the chat down in the bottom as well that you can use that. So um, as well as this will be available on YouTube. So if you want to go back, learn some more, or just rewatch this to go through and make your gear list, this will be available on YouTube. So without further ado, Mr. Matt Davis from Final Rise, how you doing?
Oh, always better than I deserve, man. Just chomping at the bit. Couple days away, and it's time to make her happen. So pretty appropriate webinar to be hosting tonight.
100%. Now, would love to hear where everyone's from. Throw it down in the chat where you guys are from, where you maybe plan on going to hunt this year. I'm out of Minnesota here, and Matt is representing the great state of Utah.
That's right.
Yeah. So Matt, you've we were chatting a little bit before, and you've got plans to head out September 1 to be out there in the field.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how busy you kind of get here. It's kind of a give and take, turning your passion and something you love so much into kind of a career path, right? Because the second you want to start stepping away is when everybody's gearing up, ready to rock and roll. Fortunately, we've got a great team, and we're going to get our ducks in a row because I'm going hunting. So
I love it. I love it. So before we get into the meat of things here, if I see some people are jumping on, so welcome everyone. We're super excited to have you. Matt, you want to just give us a quick breakdown about who Final Rise is and maybe how you started it, how it became what it is today.
yeah, so Matt Davis, like Ben said, I'm from Utah, specifically in Heber City. And man, just grew up enjoying bird dogs and bird hunting in general. And that's a passion that's kind of stayed with me over time. And Final Rise as a company is kind of a culmination of all the wonderful experiences and things I've been able to have in life. So, growing up, my family had an industrial sewing business, so I learned how to sew. I was a passionate hunter and outdoorsman, constantly changing my gear. And all of a sudden, I've rolled my sewing, love for the outdoors, love for upland hunting into one big apple, if you will, which is Final Rise. And we're a premium 100% American made upland company based out of here in Utah, and just looking to contribute to the community and just kind of raise the standard of some of the gear that's out there. There's lots of wonderful products, lots of great vests. Always tip my hat to people that are doing it what I would consider the hard way, and that's the American made way, not the copy and paste from a overseas shipping container. But man, just proud to be doing it here on American soil. We've got a great team, great employees, and proud of the product that we're making.
Heck yeah, I absolutely love it. I've been running your vest for I think 3 seasons now, and it's been fantastic. So, if any of you guys out there are or gals are in the market for a new vest, we do have an elite deal. If you're an onX Elite member, you get access to essentially a $60 value bundle package, which includes the rear accessory bag. It includes I think, yeah, the rear accessory bag, and then an exclusive Final Rise, co-branded Final Rise onX hat. So if you're an elite member, you get access to that discount. So if you want to find that, go to your elite benefits section and you can find that. So without further ado, let's kick things off. No matter what vest you have, we're talking about what you put in it, right?
That's
Everything
right.
you need from hunting to dogs, all of that fun stuff. So, what we're going to do is Matt is going to kind of go through his entire kit and show what he carries, and then I'm going to go through mine, and we can kind of compare and contrast, and hopefully we all learn a few things here today. So, Matt, let's take it from the top. What vest are you running, and let's see what all the stuff you have in it.
Oh man, yeah, I'm definitely loaded for bear, if you will. I mean, I've got everything kind of set up how I am going to go hunt early season birds. Right, we're going to do a little bit of prairie hunting, and so um, I've got a Summit XT right here. This is something this is our new flagship model, and we did recently add this to the Elite Member Benefit Program. Um, One of the things, as I'm kind of talking about what I carry in the vest, but I always want to talk a little bit about like why we've designed the things the way that we do. And so I'm really big personally on organization. I want to have a dedicated space for a specific item, whether that's my first aid kit, whether that's my stacks, hemostats, extra lead, all those different things. And so one of the goals when we were designing all of our vests was being able to turn really every single part into it, what I would consider an asset, or turning it into a way that can help you organize. And if you don't need that pocket, or you don't need that pouch, or whatever that is, it's not adding additional bulk. It's not adding really anything that you don't need. It's there if you need it, but it's not if you don't. And so that I'd rather have something and need it, or if I don't need it, and be able to scale kind of things up and down. And that's kind of what I do with my kit. You know, early season out the gate, most of the time they're shorter hunts, right? Primarily here in Utah, I'm a chucker hunter, and that means I'm leaving the truck as the sun's coming up, and I'm not coming back until it's sundown. It may be a 10, 12, 14-mile day, and so I need to go into the field adequately equipped to be able to really carry everything that I need for that day. That's first aid, that's stuff for me, that's stuff for the dog, that's food, all those different things. And so my vest is loaded down with those things, but some of these will fluctuate a little bit throughout the season. But that, again, that's kind of the beautiful thing about our setup and our design, is your ability to kind of scale this up and down and use that organization if you need it. And if you don't, you don't. So right out the gate, probably the easiest thing to start on is just the shell pouches, right? I mean, up front, we've got these magnetic shell pouches on our XT. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to put my shells in there. I'm a big fan of the 28 gauge, so you're always going to find a handful of those in my front right shell, because I'm a right-handed shooter. And then in my left shell pouch, I actually carry, and I pulled it out so I didn't have to fiddle fart with it here, but I carry a little Sony A6300 and a Tamron lens on there. And one of the reasons that I really like deep pouches are, if I'm in the West, a lot of times I'm pushing cover that doesn't have, you know, a ton of debris and stuff like that. And so if I need to get quickly into my shell pouch and I need to reload, if I'm hunting covey birds, say I shoot twice, I need to be able to reload. Having the ability to have those shells sit deeply in that pouch, tuck my lid in, get in there, grab it, reload, and shoot again is a huge, huge value prop. Now, the nice thing is, if you are hunting excessive cover, if you're hunting the grouse woods like you do, Ben, or if you're hunting, you know, pheasant habitat where there's, you know, all sorts of stuff that can get in those shell pouches, you obviously just close the lid. But an additional benefit to those deep shell pouches is they act as a counterbalance to any weight that you're putting in the game bag, right? Because a strap vest conceptually is kind of like a glorified fanny pack. And so if I can put a little bit of weight lower in my shell pouches before I start putting stuff in the game bag, that's going to give it a huge benefit. So shell pouches in the front right, or shells in my front right shell pouch, and camera in my left. On my hip here, just in the molly webbing, and hopefully I can hold this up here so you can see, I just clip a pair of hemostats just right behind my shell pouch. Our waist belt is set up with a molly configuration, so I've got a little bit of ability to kind of plug and play, but I like being able to have those hemostats close and ready, especially early season out on the prairie. Every once in a while you find a porcupine or two or three, and it's nice to have those readily available if I need to get them out and start working on a dog. So I've got that front and center. I run two 32-ounce water bottles on our vest here. If I need to, and Ben actually did a video for us that's over on the Final Rise YouTube channel, but the zippered pouch on the side here of the game bag, and you can kind of see the zipper here, you can actually fit additional water bottles on either side. So you can have 4 32-ounce bottles plus a vertical bladder. I got my dog leaning against the stool, shaking my screen here. Sorry, guys. Got the old man. He's lazy. anyway, so a lot of water carrying capability, which obviously is essential early season. I personally normally run multiple dogs, but early season, um, especially where the bird numbers are good, I'm usually going out to shoot maybe 2 or 3 birds over one dog. And later in the evening, I'll go out and shoot 1 or 2 more birds, whatever my limit is, and go chase some huns and stuff like that. But that kind of sets me up to be able to have enough water for myself and for the dogs, no matter what. Um, on the rear panel here, I have a modular orange panel. I normally run a brown vest, but if I'm hunting a state that requires orange, it's nice to have this. There's a zippered panel right here. Inside of this, I honestly just run a short slip lead. I can access that without taking my vest off. That's one of the nice things about it, is I can just reach back and grab that. If I'm hunting grouse in the mountains or different things like that, a lot of times I might be near a road, and I love my dogs and they handle pretty well, but I like being able to have a quick fix on them. Or if your buddy forgets his lead and you need to be able to help him out, an extra lead is an invaluable tool in my book. I'll dive into the side accessory pouches, or excuse me, the side pouches that are built into the vest here. On the right side of my vest here, I have one of our little mesh pull-out pouches. This is really nice because there's a lot of times where I'll wear multiple vests. I also run a sidekick early season as well, grouse hunting. And so if I don't need a full-size vest and I want to run something else, but I need to be able to have my kits with me, I don't have to take out individual items, and just being able to grab this and throw it in another vest is pretty invaluable. So in this, I've got a lighter. I've got some fire starter. This is pyro putty, but a cotton ball with Vaseline works great as well. Always have paracord, a little multi-tool. Those are pretty invaluable. Scissors, pliers, extra knife if you need it. And then I've got a knife sharpener as well. So that's kind of what's going on over there. Over on this other side, this is my personal first aid field kit. Now, when it comes to first aid for me, I always have a field kit and I have a truck kit. And my field kit is essentially the bare essentials, if you will. Hold still, bud. Oh. It's kind of the bare essentials there that's going to allow me to make sure I can treat myself or another human and get back to the truck. And there I am able to clean a wound. I'm able to put somebody on a tailgate or take care of stuff in a little bit better environment than sitting out in the dirt in the field. And so that's really kind of the meat and potatoes. A lot of these are kind of pre-made kits. I think there's a handful of them out there, but trauma pads, quick clot pads in general. Basically, I'm just trying to, stop any excessive bleeding if it comes to that. If I cut myself or fall, splinting, being able to kind of splice that up as well. You've got the ability to do that. So this particular one is the Sportsman Steelhead series from Adventure Medical Kits there. So nothing super crazy. These are fairly affordable, but it's a really nice size that, again, it just fits in the side pouch of my vest there. So then let's see, on the inside, I like running these little bowls. I'm personally, like I said, a bottle guy myself, and that's because I can visually monitor where I'm at with my water. And a lot of times I may dedicate a bottle to me and I may dedicate a bottle to the dogs. But there's certain dogs, right, that just absolutely are water hounds and they're going to put it away. And then you get others that don't want to drink. But I hate wasting water, especially on big hunts, early season chucker hunts. That water is so invaluable, and putting it in this bowl, I can keep filling it up. And when the dog's done with it, yeah, it's slobbery. Yeah, it's probably got some dirt and stuff back in it, but I can put it back in that bottle and continue to use that out the day. And then I don't have to worry about it. So I'm not losing that water as the day progresses. And that's something that's just really big for me. I have one of our little bird carriers in here. More than anything, I just use this for taking nice field photos. Birds, when they sit in your vest for a period of time, they can look a little interesting. They may have spent half the day back there smashed up. And so being able to, prep the birds, lay them out. I like to hang them by their heads through here. These are just a little slip knot. I can clip this carabiner, onto my vest or onto a fence post or onto my truck, whatever. and be able to take a nice field photo. Obviously, as a small business, we need to promote our product, but I really like promoting the sport in a tasteful way. And just like a deer that looks all bloody and disgusting isn't great for promoting big game hunting, I think, mangled up birds and stuff like that aren't a great way to promote upland hunting either. And so just to show respect for those birds, to be able to promote what we're doing tastefully, not only within our community, but anybody else looking in, just a super simple way to be able to do that in what I think is an appropriate way. Obviously have some mountain gold in there. That's self-explanatory. And I can't find them right now. I think they're in my other vest. I normally carry some cable clips, and that's for snares or traps or different things like that. And with that, I actually didn't mention it in this little kit that I have here. I have some of the big industrial zip ties, and that's for being able to get out of certain traps. And so I would highly encourage anybody to be educated on how to operate some of those traps. There's a lot of great information on YouTube, but just be able to understand what's going on. Obviously, most slip snares, you grab the cable, clip it off your dog's neck or its foot or whatever it's caught on. But there's other traps that you need to know how to operate, and a shoelace or a zip tie can be pretty invaluable there. Obviously, taking off a shoelace takes a little bit longer, so zip ties are beneficial there. And then on the back of my vest, golly, dog is just licking himself, and the more I move this, the more he leans back. On the back of my vest, I have one of our small side accessory pouches. And in this, I have a new first aid kit that we're going to be offering with dogs. Final Rise and a gal by the name of Dr. Maples, Clarissa Maples. Her business is Paradigm Sporting Dogs. She offers a really robust truck kit. So this is something that I keep in my truck. But her field kit, again, back to a little bit about what I was talking about, being able to treat something in the field and then get them back to the truck and take care of them a little bit better. So that's kind of how this particular kit is set up. And I'll just read off the list of stuff here. I've got it on my computer, but we've had a ton of interest on these. And I think a lot of people, a lot of times we don't know what to carry. We don't know what function certain things have. And so what Dr. Maples and I have tried to do is really simplify this, that things are self-explanatory, that you know how to use them properly, because good first aid is wonderful, but bad first aid is even worse. We can make the problem worse if we don't know what we're doing. So a little bit of self-education needs to be happening there. We obviously got alcohol prep wipes. You're going to be able to clean off a wound, if you're in the field that runs through a barbed wire fence, different things like that. Obviously, depending on the severity, you want to clean that up. Bandage scissors, forceps, or essentially hemostats. We've got a cast padding deal. We've got some emergency blankets, some eye wash, honey packets, quick clot, a muzzle, Tefl pads, tourniquet, and vet wrap. And so for 90% of the instances we feel in the field, you're going to be able to treat that, get them back to the truck, and then she's going to sell those complete kits, and you're going to be able to take care of that. But what we're going to do with Clarissa is really kind of build out a program that's obviously going to be free, but just educate people on how to take care of their dogs. There's a lot of good information out there, but we're not just going to sell first aid kits to sell first aid kits. We're going to kind of empower you guys. So yeah, that's really that kit. Because I run the XT, I do have jacket lashes stitched into the back of this. This is really nice. Early season, I'm always going to carry an extra layer. I'm always going to carry a rain jacket. You never know, you might get a summer or spring shower or whatever. And just being able to have that layer strapped to the back of my vest and not having to put that in with the birds, the blood, the gunk, the different things like that is pretty valuable. So especially on those long day trips where you're with a couple buddies, no one wants to be next to that stinky guy. So man, in a nutshell, that kind of checks the box for me, Ben. I think that probably fairly similar to yours, but man, I'm trying to think, did I miss anything?
Yeah, one thing I want to know is how you run. What do you run for electronics, and how do you run them on your vest?
Oh yes, yeah, no, that's awesome question. So I run the Garmin Alpha system. That's by far my preferred. I've tried the other ones and they're great. I think Garmin's built a great ecosystem of electronics. You know, you can pair it with a watch. It can sync to your phone. It can sync to your truck. Obviously, it's nice. You can run onX on your truck, and then you can hop into the field. It's like there's you guys have done a great job playing into that as well. So hats off to you. So I run the Garmin system and then obviously the Garmin collars. And for me personally, because when it comes to handhelds, and I'm really glad Ben asked this, it's a can of worms. Everybody kind of has the where, the how, and the why they want their transmitter. And what I mean by transmitter is their handheld, why they want it, where they want it. For me, because I'm running a watch, I try to keep my upper body as minimal as possible. Now, what we did with our system was set it up that it was kind of a platform that the end user could take and really leverage to whatever carrying principle they wanted. So our shoulder harnesses, it's an ambidextrous setup. You've got horizontal webbing locations on either side. Garmin makes all sorts of clip systems out there. There's lots of aftermarket pieces. Um, We've got a double reinforced spot right here that's great for an S carabiner. A lot of guys like to run a carabiner and hang it antenna down. Then they can grab the transmitter and look at it. The screen's oriented properly and they can operate it that way. If you run a really short pendulum or you do run like a really short S carabiner, this is a great location to be able to put that. We have transmitter pouches that will attach onto the shoulder harness as well. And again, this is ambidextrous, so whether you're right-handed or left-handed, you're going to be able to take advantage of that. But like I said, for me personally, because I just want everything on my waist. I want everything. I want as much weight as possible there because that's what's supporting the actual system. And so on the front of our waist belts on both sides, we have these sewn-in D-rings right here that you can see. I'll flip that up so you can see that. And so for me, I just run a short piece of paracord. And then on the front of the XT shell pouches, we've got these two horizontal webbing spots. Now you can attach a transmitter pouch here, or if you're like me, I just use the belt clip that Garmin offers. And so it's tethered on there. So if for some reason it fell off, I can't lose it, but I can clip it and it's sitting on the front of my shell pouch. It's ready to rock and roll. And the nice thing about those Garmins is they're so intuitive, right? I mean, if you're running multiple dogs, it's easy to get to another dog. You got 3 buttons across the top. I mean, you use them a little bit and you really don't need to look at the screen. So if you need to stop a dog and be in control of the situation, very, very easy to do. But lots of ways to skin that cat. But for me, I want a clean shoulder harness because I want to mount my gun and I want to shoot good. So
For sure. Another question would be, when you are in bear country, what are you doing for a sidearm solution, and how are you running that?
yeah, so for me, obviously, I am carrying a shotgun. I think a lot of times we forego that. I personally carry. I have one right here. This is a 2 shell belt loop system that basically I'll stand up really quick when you have the waist belt on. It just sits right here. And so for a lot of guys, whether you're hunting bear country or maybe you're hunting down by the border and you're worried about a little bit of self-protection, I've seen guys carry buckshot or slugs or different things like that. Now, I shoot a 28 gauge, so I like, I'm not shooting big shot sizes. I'm shooting 7.5s or 8s most of the time. And so we do have a sidearm holster. And one of the unique things about the sidearm holster and the way it's actually designed to function is that it will fit. Show you really quickly here. It'll fit behind this shell pouch. So where I have these hemostats right here are all our accessories basically attached in the corners here. So I can actually put my hand between the waist belt and the shoulder pouch. And so this is designed to be sandwiched in there, and you can set it up right-handed or left-handed. You can set it up for a cross draw. So I set it up on my left hip because I'm a right-handed shooter. I set it up for a cross draw, and basically just the top of this holster is sticking up above the shell pouch. So we'll imagine this is the top of the shell pouch. So from here, I'm able to carry a sidearm, whatever that is. I personally carry a 9mm. That's what I carry for a concealed weapon every day. I shoot that gun a lot. I'm very familiar with it. I'm probably going to dump both my shotgun barrels on a bear before I reach for my sidearm personally. But I'm able to do that. And we also do offer bear spray canister holsters as well. So one of the popular methods, again, referencing back to the front of this shell pouch, is you can attach a bear spray canister onto that, and you can just have that sitting on the front. So if I wanted to, I could run my Garmin on my left shell pouch and a bear spray on the right, but I'm always probably going to bank on my shotgun. And then if they get through 2 barrels, and maybe that was my day anyway. So.
Oh, that's great. Another one, going back to more of the first aid side of things, one of the great things about the vest is the ability to carry an injured dog, an immobile dog with the vest. Would you just kind of explain how that works?
Yeah, so that was really, and I'm glad you're keeping me on course. I should know this since I talk about them every day, and a lot of times what's common to me, I forget, isn't common to everybody else. But man, that was one of the things that had never been done in an Upland vest before. And if we really think about it, the majority of the stuff that I carry in my vest is for my dog. If it was just me, if I was just out, giving them hell, I could get away with a couple shells in my pocket and a water bottle in the other. It wouldn't be a big deal. But I hunt because of the dogs. I love the dogs. I have 4 different dogs that I love spending time with, and my dogs mean the world to me, right? So being able to make sure that we're able to take care of them is a super, super important deal. And so on the back of our vest here, we have these 2 panels. This is the mesh panel that sits flush against your back. And then this rear panel right here, this is the one that I pulled the lead out of. It's got this zippered pouch right here. And then I've got a modular orange panel here. But the way that this works here is we've got some G-hooks on the top. Oops, that I'm able to just pop open. And now I can separate my game bag here. And so we've put a little bit of light structuring on either side of the game bag with some webbing, and under load, it actually folds underneath the dog. So I can load a dog, basically front legs hanging out the front, back legs hanging out the back, whichever direction you want to be able to put that dog. And we have some videos on our website on how to do this, as well as our YouTube channel. But this is just a really quick and easy way to be able to set the bag down, put the dog inside there. If I need to adjust the G-hooks up or down to accommodate a larger dog, I can do that. And once that dog's in there, all I have to do is feed those G-hooks back through, and the bag's closed around that dog. I can lift it up. And I personally had to do this. This isn't just like, oh, here's this marketing thing we'll come up with and tell people we're carrying dogs. Like, no, I've had to carry dogs out of the field. A couple of years ago, we were in Idaho hunting early season sharptail in mid-October-ish. I guess maybe that's not early season, but and we dropped off the top of this mountain, and we were going to go hunt the edges of a bunch of private, right? There was a bunch of farm ground underneath, but the only way to get to it was just bombing off the top. And so we thought we were going to be hardcore and motor down there. And I've got a good buddy, Tom, who's got a great pointer, super healthy dog, just phenomenal dog that I've been able to hunt behind over the years. And for some reason, we get down at the bottom, and Tom's half a mile that way, and for some reason his dog's hunting with us, and look down in the bottom, and
well, it looks like we lost Matt. I'm sure he'll jump back on here in a second, but yeah, same. I've had to do the same deal, especially in certain areas where it's carpets of cactus. I know I've seen some people from down south, and even the toughest dogs can't get through that. So looks like we've got Matt back in the building.
Should have put my phone on airplane mode. I apologize, guys. I went to reject a call and ended this. Whoopsies. What would it be if there wasn't me hanging up the phone in the middle of something, right? Anyways, had to load the dog up in the bottom of this canyon, and it was over 1,000 vertical feet out of the canyon. And I like to stay in the best shape that I can. And I was with another in shape buddy, and we were able to load the dog up. And one of the nice things about it is being able to carry that dog on your back is so much easier than trying to bear hug dead weight or get it up over your shoulders. And it's truly it's a night and day difference. I've had to carry dogs in my arms before, and you can't go very far before you wear out. But if you can load this down like a backpack, like anybody that big game hunts understands how to pack meat, right? Now, packing a dog is similar in a little bit of ways, and so that was just a feature that made so much sense to be able to design into a vest, and it was simple as being able to open those top panels there and load the dog up and get her out. So yeah, I've personally experienced it before, and I can tell you, bar none, it is an absolute game changer. So really proud of that feature, and just a cool innovation, and a feather in our hat, if you will, for something that Final Rise brought to the upland market.
Yeah, and all of the vests come with that G hook system, correct?
That's all of our full size vests, the Summit XT, the Summit, and the Legacy. And this was, so the G hook update was an update we made about a year ago. But any vest, any Summit vest out there, Ben, I don't know if yours has the G hooks yet or not. But you can just retrofit that. So you can still open the vest. Obviously, it requires routing the webbing through the metal hooks there. So anyways, they're obviously both set up to do that. But once we found that G hook, we looked at metal G hooks. Obviously, those have been around forever. Metal, a lot of guys throw their gun over their shoulder, and so we try to mitigate metal on our vest because, every once in a while I want to carry one of my fancy guns, and I don't want to scratch it. So metal does that. Plastic can do it, but not as bad as metal. So once we found those G hooks, it was just a streamlined implementation and an easy retrofit on any of the pre-existing products that we put out into the market.
Heck yeah, awesome. So we'll come back and we'll answer some more questions. And like I say, if you guys out there, if you've got anything, please post it in the Q&A, and we're gonna have some time to circle back at the end and get to more questions. But this is your chance to fire away. So I'll kind of go through my system now, and it's very similar to Matt's. With the caveat is, Matt's in the mountains, he's hunting chukar. A lot of my stuff is more shorter loops, maybe 3, 4, 5 mile treks, and I'm not generally too far from the truck, and not like thousands of vertical feet up or down. But we run into, like, when we talk about traps, we run into a fair, I would say probably more so, running into traps, that kind of thing. So there's just different nuances that I run into probably more often, but I'm not doing thousands of feet of vertical and a little bit closer to the truck. So if you can relate to kind of the way I hunt, maybe you'll pick up something here. So I'm running the Summit system here. It's, like I said, this is a few years older. I've also got the XT as well. But kind of how I set it up is, so I'm a right-handed shooter. So I am carrying my gun a lot of the times in my right hand. So I run a combination. So I run a Alpha with the tracking collars, and I also have the watch. So I'm pretty much constantly looking at the watch. So my Alpha unit, I just throw it in the front pocket here. So this is pretty much where it stays. And if I need to get it out to look at the map or do something, I can do that. But on the other side, so why that works is I am also running a 550, just because I don't like training. I don't like using the training function of the Alpha. So on this side, I have my 550, and I can get to it. It's all it is I've got a little brass snap here on a piece of paracord, and that just stays in my pocket. And I will say how important that is, because I've not attached it before, and somebody walking behind me grouse hunting has been like, dude, this is like the second time you've dropped your 550. So always have it attached here. As well as, so I have, similar to Matt, I shoot 28 gauge, but I also shoot 20 gauge. And, one walk I might choose to go with the 20 gauge, one walk I might go with the 28 gauge. So kind of my system is I always have the shells that I'm shooting in my right pocket, because I'll grab my gun like this and put shells in with my right hand. So if I'm shooting a 20 gauge, my 20 gauge shells are on my right side. And then if I'm shooting 28 gauge, I'll flip those around. So then I'm not having to like go open up my deck system, flip it open, add these shells, take these shells off. I just can kind of flip and flop. And again, I'm not worried about ounces when it comes to if how heavy my pack is. So I'm okay with carrying some, I guess you'd call it dead weight in there. Um, on top of that, and same thing here, I think on this Alpha I have, I think it's called a gizmo or something uh, case, and it's just attached on a lanyard here. Same thing. I mean, Matt touched on the water bottles. I pretty much early season, I'm always running 4 water bottles, pretty much always, just because I've got a couple dogs that are absolute water hounds. So, and if you had a hard time seeing that, essentially, I don't know if you can see it any better here, but on that side there, they just slip in just like that here. So it's honestly when I called Matt, I said, hey, I need to buy a couple more water bottle holders, and probably looked like a bandolier of water bottles across me. But he's like, dude, just shove them in the side of your right in those side pockets right there. So that was a super eye opening find. So in these as well, I carry like I'll just throw a lighter in the bottom of it. I think this is honestly a spare. I think I have some more on this side. What I do is I carry. A lot of the times I'm also training when I'm out hunting, especially early season. So I've just got a pill bottle here with some 209 primers for my pistol if I run out. And a lot of the times I will put my pistol on the front belt holder, similar to what Matt said. So um, that works out super well. I don't know if I have anything in here. A lot of the times I'll throw in one thing I throw in. I don't know where it is. It's in here somewhere, but it's a spare battery for your Alpha. Um, Especially I run the 100 still, but a lot of the times that is the first thing that's going to go dead. Those collars will last for a long time, but the handheld is oftentimes what ends up going dead. So I will put a new battery, like a charged battery in there, and if for some reason it goes dead, I can just swap batteries pretty easily. So that's kind of the side pockets in the back here as well. I keep a few things back here. I keep some cheap Cordura dog boots. Like I was saying earlier, if you're hunting in a place with a lot of cactus, I'm not from cactus country, so my dogs aren't necessarily what conditioned to that. So I'll throw boots in there just if I got to get them out of a situation, or if a dog cuts a pad really bad, I've got boots to throw in there, as well as I keep a pair of leather gloves back there. Um, More dog boots. I've got keep a big roll of vet tape as well as a roll of duct tape in there, just again for putting on boots. Or I mean, you guys know duct tape is pretty much good for anything. So I always got to have that back there. Um, I've got a plethora of sticks in here left from grouse season. It feels like. But going back here to the side again, like Matt had right on the back here, this back panel, it's a great zippered spot. Funny, Matt, that you did the same thing, but I keep the same, just cheap slip lead in the back. Again, I don't use it often, but you get to a road, you got to walk them. Super important to have. I keep a knife back there as well, always handy to have. And then my favorite feature here is I keep 4 shells back here. Keep 220 gauge and 228 gauges, because I can't tell you how many times, like, I'm walking back to the truck. It's probably been an awful day in the grouse woods where I'm just missing a ton, and I walk back with an empty gun because I've ran out of shells. And I don't bring a whole lot, so I'm not like a great hunter by any means. I don't bring very many shells, and so I've got 4 shell or 228, 220 gauge. So if I'm down to my last prayer, I can slide those in. I know I always have them in the back of the vest there. So that's kind of what I keep in there. I too, like Matt, have the jacket lashes on the back of the vest. Just for layering. You don't have to stuff it. I used to stuff all my gear in the back of my vest, but then obviously, like, when you run into birds, you might be full of birds and your jacket's getting blood all over it. So I use the jacket lashes. So I've got the rear bag here, and I've pretty much got this plumb full of vet stuff for the dogs. I put my kit together Not saying mine is better because it's probably much more bombastic than yours, Matt, but so far it's worked for me. So, well, again, like Matt said, I've got two heavy duty zip ties, and there's a lot of good YouTube. There's a lot of good resources out there for how to use these to take them off traps. The other thing you can use is they make I think it's I can't, it's a Conibear like chain setter or something like that. I had it pulled up here, yeah, like a Conibear safety setter. So it's a wire mechanism, like a chain mechanism that is able to compress those springs easier all the way up to like a 330, which is a big trap. So that's something to look into. I've got a pill bottle full of Quick Clot, and if you guys don't have this in your kit, I use this a lot. The one thing to mention is like if a dog gets really cut, or if you get cut where it's like an arterial bleed or something nasty, they say don't use this because it can cut off blood flow. But all it is just a powder that you can rub into the wound. And I mean, I don't like Band-Aids, so a lot of the times if I get a cut, I'll just take some of that and mash it in there and keep hauling. So I've got more vet wrap. I don't know. I said on that video, I have no idea where I got this. It's a kit full of Band-Aids, gauze, um, like alcohol wipes, and I must have taken it from someone by accident because I wouldn't have put together such a nice little kit like this. So if you're on the show and you're like, or on the webinar and you're like, that's mine, hit me up. I've got a couple just Nature Valley bars in here in case I get hungry. I've got a whistle. I normally don't use a whistle, but I always have one in case I got to call in a dog or if there's another guy that, relies on a whistle. Pair of warmer gloves. A skin stapler is another thing. This is just a cheap disposable one. I've got a bigger one at the truck, but this is just it's lightweight. It's wrapped like this, so it stays sterile and good thing to have and know how to use it. As well as like Matt said, I've got my wire cutters here. And the thing to note is that not all wire cutters are made for steel. So, and the ones that aren't made for steel, like they will probably cut a wire once, but they get pretty beat up after that. So just keep that in mind if you're going out and looking for a wire cutter. I've got an extra pair of hemostats in the back, another like bandage cutter, and I also keep a hemostats clipped on to. It's normally I clip it onto onto this tab right here on my pocket, and I tuck that in there. It should be here. Oh, it's here somewhere. So I've got an extra. Oh, there's extra alpha battery right here. So that's where I keep that. So I'm trying to think if there's anything. Oh, back here as well, I keep a external battery pack and an extra phone charging cord in case that goes, my phone dies. Somebody mentioned on the chat that a lot of people, it's important to write down vets in the area, contact information. So if I'm going out of service, I will make sure to look that up beforehand. A lot of the times I do have service, and the biggest thing is that my phone would die and I would not be able to get to, not be able to utilize my phone or use my phone for onX to get out of a lot of the spots that I'm unfamiliar with. So, yeah, that's kind of a quick and dirty of what goes into my vest. I don't carry a sidearm. Well, I'm not in bear country. I guess if I ran into a black bear, I can knife it or something. I don't know. I don't run into bears, so yeah, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, that's in a nutshell kind of what I utilize in my vest for normal hunting situations. So I don't know, Matt, if anything on there spurred any further thoughts from you on kind of what you carry.
No, honestly, that kind of hit it. And I just saw a gentleman just ask about a dog carrying harness of sorts. And I'm sorry, I didn't see his name. I'm just on my phone here, so I can't thumb through the comments there. But we talked a little bit about it earlier for maybe anybody that jumped in just last second here about the vest's ability to carry the dog. Obviously, those aftermarket pieces are great. If you aren't running a final rise system, absolutely have one of those. But if you do have one of the final rise setups, that removes an additional thing you've got to be able to actually carry in your vest, because the vest itself is designed to carry an injured dog in the case of an emergency. So,
Yeah. Another somebody posted in here a flashlight. I don't.
oh, I do. I probably didn't pull it out, but I have a headlamp in there for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll keep one in my truck, but sometimes I don't have one in my vest, which would be a handy thing to have sometimes.
I've come off the Chucker Hills many, many times in the dark.
Yeah.
Turn on the dog collar that's got the light on there and put on my headlamp and meander on back. So, yep, good call on the headlamp.
Yeah. And then, if there's anyone out there, again, like, this is your chance. Let's utilize the questions. If you've got anything, we'd love to chat on it. So be sure to throw it here in the chat, and we can answer it. So I'm seeing a question here about the turkey vest, Matt. Is everything is that everything the same as the others, and it's all modular?
Yeah, the answer is yes. So the way our turkey, so the vest itself, the Summit vest, if you were to buy the Summit turkey vest off our website, the game bag and how it's configured is exactly what Ben just walked through. So the game bag conceptually is the same. We use the same waist belt and the same shoulder harness universally across all of our vests, because those are kind of two of the keystone components. And so, yeah, you've got that modularity. You've got the molly webbing on the waist belt. It's going to come with a little bit smaller pouches, but you can kind of just plug and play to your heart's desires. It's a great little setup. And again, just like carrying a dog out of the field, it's a little bit easier to carry a big turkey if you stuff them in the back and need to carry your shotgun and stuff back. So.
Great. This is a fantastic question. Do the vests work well for women?
Absolutely. And that's actually, we've been super fortunate. We've been very, very, very well received by all the gals in the Upland community. And the reason that it works so well for women is we actually don't use any padding in our shoulder harness. Referring back to my analogy of a strap vest conceptually being kind of like a fanny pack, that waist belt needs to be load bearing, right? When you think about backpacking in general, you want to be able to put that weight on your hips. So where I mentioned that our waist belt and our shoulder harness are universal components, that's because they work synergistically together. Like our vest actually has a built-in, see if I can open this up here, lumbar pad. Hopefully you can see that. And it's got a wider surface area, so there's a lot of surface contact, which is going to allow it to hold the weight. Which means that if the weight's on your hips, that means that you don't need to have padding, right? Padding most of the time is probably trying to band-aid a waist belt that may not fit you right. And we're very specific on our waist belt sizes. We actually have 5 different belt sizes, because that's how important that is. That belt has to fit you. When I see a waist belt that says it'll fit from 28 to 42, unless you're right in the middle, you might not have the greatest experience. And so to the harness, maybe just providing that a little bit is a little preface to there. So our harness is very, very thin here. I talked about the attachment points, but those are very non-intrusive, not going to change the way you mount a gun. And because there's no padding, back to the women thing, this is going to lay flat and contour to any particular body type. So whether you're a guy or a gal, there's so many different body builds out there, right? Like, really no two of us are the same. And so being able to build a harness that's going to fit everybody very well and be comfortable was absolutely of the utmost importance. And so for all the gals out there, like, you'd be amazed how comfortable this is. It's not going to rub on your chest. It's not going to be uncomfortable. And we have a couple different lengths of shoulder harnesses as well to make sure that we orient that hardware as far as the sternum strap goes. And so, man, just put a lot of time and thought into the design behind this to make it be comfortable. That's the whole point. There's nothing worse than getting out in the field and coming back to the truck. You've had a great day of shooting and your neck hurts. I think almost every bird hunter can relate to that. And you're like, "Cow, why does my neck hurt?" Well, it's because all the weight was on your shoulders. And we shot a video forever ago. This was kind of when we were first coming out. I took my dad to a preserve for his birthday and we shot a bunch of pheasants, and I put 7 roosters in the game bag, and then I took the shoulder harness off while I was wearing it. And that vest is just going to sit here. And again, it just comes back understanding how deer works. I do a lot of big game hunting still. I know what it's like packing out elk and deer and stuff. And so there's a lot of those same ideologies put into this. And man, you'd be amazed how comfortable these are and how well they work.
Yeah. So this question just popped up as I was going to ask you, but will you demonstrate on how it might be a little bit difficult with the setup, but how it's supposed to fit, how you're supposed to wear a vest to distribute the weight correctly?
Yeah. I'll put my Delio back here real quick. Hopefully you can see me okay. I've been twisting this thing around so it's well tight and I'm not. All right, there we go. All right, so the first and most important thing, coming back to kind of what we were just talking about, is the waist belt. And so we've got that lumbar pad that's going to provide surface contact. So really, when I've got this belt fitted, I have surface contact from the points of my hips all the way around my back, even in the small void of my butt crack, right? And so the first thing I'm going to do is set that waist belt. I can feel that the lumbar pad is just resting on the top of my bum crack, whether that's TMI for whoever. But once I've got that set, really the shoulder harness itself should have very, very minimal pressure on it. Like even fully set up, I'm able to fit my hand behind this. And that's one of the reasons that I don't personally carry a transmitter or anything on me. Or on my shoulder harness. I put that on my hips because I want that weight down here because I've got way more surface contact and weight loading ability here. So everything cinched down. One of the nice things about our waist belt system is this webbing is actually a continuous piece fed from the front of each waist belt through a dual adjust buckle and then back through this 2-inch loop lock. And so I can grab these and push them forward and cinch the waist up. There's no more fighting trying to pull them back. I can just push those forward. I can walk it down and I can have really even pressure on my hips. And so when fitted properly, I'm going to snug this down just a hair. But the reason I don't want a lot of pressure here is if you think about it, when I go to shoulder a gun and I'm trying to bring my arms up, if I'm trying to, I think of mounting the gun like I'm trying to stab him with a bayonet as I'm getting into it, right? But if I have pressure here, it's going to restrict me from doing that. And if I have too much pressure, it's also going to pull the vest up off of my hips. So I've got this cinched down, very minimal weight here. It's not restricting at all. Ideally, we want this sternum strap as low as possible. This is my sternum right here. And the reason we do that is because I want to leave this shoulder pocket open for just a really clean gun mount. That's another reason we don't use padding. If you think about the importance of a well-fit gun, just a little bit of padding or something like that can negatively impact the way you get on your gun. And I'm a firm believer, you miss the mount, you're probably going to miss the bird. Every once in a while we get lucky, but we've left this shoulder harness to be so minimal that now you really don't have an excuse. So from a side profile, my shell pouches are going to be sitting at 9 and 3 o'clock. Because we do use deeper shell pouches, I don't want those wrapping around onto the front of my legs because as I'm walking, I don't want those bouncing, right? I want those off on the side. So if I have to climb a fence, step over some deadfall, do whatever, I'm able to do that. And then the water bottles, I've got those basically sitting when my arms are down like this. They're behind my elbows, easily accessible. I can water a dog, put the water bottle back. It's easy as that. And then loading a bird. I tell people all the time, if you can scratch your butt, you can put a bird in our vest. Like it's that simple. We've got that light framing in there that gives it a little bit of structure, and all I have to do is reach back and drop it in there. So that's been great for even a lot of the older gentlemen that maybe don't have great shoulder mobility. They're like, oh, I need a front loading vest. I'm like, well, ultimately, if you're using a front loading vest, you're going to start out putting it here, and then somehow you got to work it around to the back if you're shooting multiple birds. So no matter what, you're trying to get some birds back here unless you're just only shooting 1 or 2 and leaving them on the front. So man, just that's how that's supposed to fit. That's how it was designed to fit. And again, back to our waist belt and all the different sizing options that we have, it's because it's that important. And man, once it fits right, The hallmark of good gear is stuff that you don't even notice you have on, and that's a compliment that we get time and time again.
Awesome. What about like on the yoke system on the back? What is the
Yep.
proper setup for that? Because I've gotten that question a lot.
Yeah, so that might be a little bit more difficult for me to show here. I can try and squat down. I'll work funny, but it'll be okay. Um, so setting the torso lengths, obviously, incredibly important. I appreciate you mentioning that, Ben. And that's once I'm able to set the waist belt in the appropriate place, a lot of times I do need to lengthen out that yoke. And so ideally, I want this. Oh, I'm going to try and look over my shoulder and see if I can see where I am, probably right here. I want this V as high up on my back as possible without it rubbing on my neck. Now, as the day is progressing and I'm putting birds in the back, naturally the vest is going to rock back just a little bit. So when I'm starting into the field, I want that close. You can see here, it's just coming off the sides there. It's not rubbing. It's not bothering me at all. And if that's set properly, it's like a teeter-totter, right? If I lengthen the yoke, I can move down the front. And where I talked about wanting to have this hardware as low as possible, I need to have that yoke to the appropriate length to be able to keep this very, very flat, which again gives me just that clean mounting surface for a gun. So hopefully you there when I was doing my CrossFit moves.
That was impressive. That was very impressive. So a couple housekeeping things here before we start to wrap things up. We're going to post a link to the giveaway in the chat here. We're gonna be giving away some onX shirts right there. It just popped up in the chat, as well as everyone that is registered today will get, if you're interested in anything from Final Rise, whether it be apparel, vests, etc. Matt has been gracious enough to offer free shipping as well. So we will be sending that code out too. So thank you, Matt. We appreciate it.
Oh no, appreciate you guys and appreciate all the support from the elite members. It's been awesome. That's been a fantastic program for us, and it's just fun to be able to work with great companies like you guys, and it just allows us to connect with more upland hunters. And we're just passionate blue collar dudes at the end of the day, and we just know how to sew a little bit. So it's been fun to bring this to life, and appreciate you letting us be a part of it, Ben.
Yeah, love it. We're all excited here for opening day. If a lot of seasons start here September 1st, so can't wait to get out there. We appreciate everyone coming on tonight, and hopefully we learned something. I sure learned something. So again, if you kind of came in late, we will be posting this on YouTube as well in the coming days, so you can go back and reference some of the things you might have missed. So again, thank you guys for coming. We hope you all have a super successful season. And Matt, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom. So take care and have a successful season.
Thanks, guys.